from Benny Goodman, the jump isn't too big actually to another clarinist that definitely I like very much, and I'm going to show a little some records from Sweden, Swedish jazz records, because I like Swedish jazz very much. The interesting thing is that Swedish jazz actually always has been not that they actually been a little slow in following the trends in jazz music. So we never really had a period where we were all that big bebop fans, but because when we started to play bebop, that was actually past history in the United States. But we definitely had some great musicians. I definitely can name Rolf Eriksson, the trumpet player, fantastic musician. Arne Domnerus, fantastic saxophonist, and Bengt Hallberg, and this one, who happened to be born here in my city, Sundsvall. This is Stan Hasslegard, or as he's being called here in Sweden, Åke Hasslegard. He played with the Benny Goodman during the last time of his life, actually, just last period of his life. And this one, Jamming at the Jubilee, is a recording from a radio show that actually was during after the war, 1948. They had this show in American radio. I think some of you Americans here in VC might know that, who collects jazz. This is released on a marvelous Swedish label called Dragon. Dragon label has released many great jazz records, Swedish with Swedish jazz music. Many old great jazz songs, songs actually that haven't been released before, and those are produced by Lars Westin, who works at the Swedish radio, and definitely Dragon Jazz Records, fantastic releases. And this one is also a Dragon release, Swedish big band music from the late 30s, early 40s. Sam Samsons Orchestra. There's a song here actually that I really like, and there is Deep Forest by Sven Jante. See here. This I found on a record fair that we had a couple of years ago. This is a fantastic, great recording, actually, great album. I really like the Swedish big band era with Tore Erling and Håkan von Eichwalls and so on, and Sam Samson actually. Talking about Swedish bebop era, we had, as I said, we were playing bebop here in Sweden, but it didn't become all that big as it was in the United States, even though we had big stars also, of course. But here is definitely a musician that I really like. This is James Moody, who came to Sweden actually and recorded with Swedish musician. So this is James Moody with the Swedish Crowns, the Swedish musician. We have Arne Domnerus, Leppe Sundvall, we have Gösta Teselius, and so on. Many great Swedish jazz musicians. There's a little story about this record actually. This is bought in Stockholm in a record store called Runt on Odengatan, and in 2006. And after I bought this one, I was going to a restaurant called Restaurang Fåfängan and actually listened to a jazz band that was called Sveriges Jazzband. They play a little more Dixieland. I'm not into Dixieland. I didn't, even though Dixieland was the first kind of jazz I listened to, I didn't become that big Dixieland fan, but it was jazz nonetheless, and I decided to go there and eat a bit and then eat some and listen to great jazz. And as I was sitting there waiting for my food, and it was outside in a tent, and I started to look at the records I had bought in Stockholm during that during that day actually. And opposite of me there was an older man with a couple of teenagers, and he looked at my records and made a comment about one record that I actually had bought, and I felt a little proud, and thought to myself, I'm going to show the real great finding I did, and it was this one I'm going to show. So I showed this one, and I said, take a look at this, what I found. And he nodded and said, yes, I know, I'm the one who's produced this one. And I looked at it, and it was Lars Festin himself actually was sitting there. And Lars Festin, actually, I talked about the documentary about Lenny Tristano. Lars Festin was the one who had produced that documentary also. So it's a little inspiration in me listening to older jazz. It was very fun when we was sitting there talking about Lenny Tristano, where to find jazz music, and Sundsvall had a jazz festival way back then. It was a really fun evening actually. Great record also, definitely fantastic jazz music. Another jazz musician from my earliest jazz days was a big band leader that not too many have heard of today, that actually has been very, very forgotten, even though he was very much ahead of his time when it comes to his style actually. He had a special, unique style that he took classic big band music and mixed it with a newer style and elements of modern classical music, and I'm talking about Boyd Raeburn. In a radio show called Smoke Rings, they had a special set with Boyd Raeburn songs that they played, and I was really fascinated with it. And some of them were live recordings from a hotel, and I recorded the entire program, and I have listened to that program 1 million times almost. And it was like the Lenny Tristano record. I have been searching also ever since then for the record actually with those songs. And in 2010, I think, I actually finally, at the same store, Andreas, actually found it. Boyd Raeburn, rare 1944 to 46 broadcast performances. This is radio recordings with Boyd Raeburn's orchestra, and I'm telling you, his version of Speak Low from this album is definitely one of the best jazz recordings that I ever have heard, because the band is so perfect, they're so smooth, and definitely so marvelous, playing so well together with solos being totally awesome, and definitely fantastic album. And Boyd Raeburn, more people should actually discover Boyd Raeburn, because he was definitely a great big band leader. And just like Lenny Tristano, it's also not easy to find Boyd Raeburn's recordings actually. I was fortunate to find this one in a record fair. This is Boyd Raeburn Orchestra on the air. This is a total radio recording, a radio show, an entire concert with the Boyd Raeburn Orchestra. We have his fantastic compositions here called Tone Poem in 4 movements. It's like a little symphony, of jazz symphony that he created. Definitely a unique and special big band style of that one. Special, really something odd and something special, but definitely a great thing to listen to. We also have Boyd meets Stravinsky, a little proof of his inspiration of modern classical music. Even though I'm not a big fan of Igor Stravinsky, it definitely goes so well. He really has taken Stravinsky and created something really awesome with it. Going to show here another album that I'm actually very proud to have, because it's such a great album, and this is a Blue Note. This is Jerry Mulligan and Lee Kunitz's Revelation. This is a 2 LP set and fantastic record. Very, very smooth and awesome jazz music, with both Mulligan and Lee Kunitz being absolutely perfect here. And you have also Chet Baker and Zoot Sims here, and Al Coon and Alan Eager. And see here, Blue Note reissue series. So this is a reissue, but still is a fantastic album. I also have another jazz artist that I really, really love, and if you ask me which jazz vocalist that is my absolute favorite, I'm not saying Ella Fitzgerald, I'm not saying Billie Holiday, I'm not saying Sarah Vaughan, even though I really love Ella Fitzgerald. Bill Holiday have made some really great recordings. I'm not such a big fan of Sarah Vaughan, but okay, she has done some good things also. But my absolute favorite is from Sweden. It is Monica Zetterlund. She has a fantastic voice, a marvelous voice, and the special with her is that she can do everything with it. She can sing jazz music, she can sing what we in Sweden call schlager, she can sing comedy with it, she did a lot of shows with those guys that I showed in my introduction video, Hasslegard, and she is also an actress, great actress, and fantastic singer. And here is one of those albums that definitely I have in my collection that I definitely like. This is Monica Zetterlund, the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra from 1978. We have It Only Happens Every Time, Long Daddy Green, Silhouette. This is a great album, definitely. Monica Zetterlund in her best shape, actually. And I'm not a big fan of Bill Evans music, but her album that she made with Bill Evans, fantastic album, definitely. See, here is an EMI recording. So definitely, she did a lot of recordings both in Sweden and America, and fantastic recordings. I'm going to finish off with another big band leader that is my actual one of my biggest favorites. Also one that's very forgotten. This album, I know that Björn at 78 RPM has been showing in one of his videos, but I'm going to show it too, because I definitely think that this is a great album. Actually, I'm a huge fan of Bennett Bergen. He was a musician who played with many of the great ones, with Tommy Dorsey and so on. But he also had a band of his own that actually made fantastic, great, smooth, big band music. And unfortunately, it was overshadowed by the big one, by Benny Goodman, by the Dorseys, and then by Count Basie and so on. And didn't do all that well. And unfortunately, it took him very hard, and then he started drinking, and which then unfortunately killed himself by drinking. This album, actually, from RCA's Black and White series, Nostalgia, The Best of Bennett Bergen, Volume 1, 1934 to 38. Fantastic album. Great 30s big band music. Proof that Bennett Bergen actually was a very forgotten big band leader. The interesting thing is that some of my biggest favorite musicians are musicians actually that are today very forgotten jazz musicians, and that never got the acclaim, the fame actually that they actually deserved. Same with Lenny Tristano, a guy actually that didn't become all that big that he actually deserved. Definitely, here you should listen to The Prisoner song. Is fantastic from this album, a fantastic song. But I also like Swanee River, All God's Children Got the Rhythm. Time's running fast, and I have many jazz records to show, and I'm definitely going to come back to those later. I'm going to do more clips with my jazz records. But until next time, I'm wishing you a very nice week. Bye-bye.